People think danger announces itself. A scream, a break-in, a sudden noise in the dark. But the truth is worse. Sometimes, danger waits quietly, patient, watching. And sometimes, the only reason you survive is because you finally stop pretending nothing is wrong. This is a true story about a man who didn't realize someone was outside his home until it was almost too late. Story 1. Someone was standing behind my fence every night. I moved into the house in late October. It was one of those quiet suburban streets where every home looks the same and nothing ever seems to happen. The kind of place where porch lights stay on all night and neighbors wave but never really talk. The backyard was fenced in 6-foot wooden panels, old but solid. Behind it was a narrow strip of undeveloped land filled with trees and weeds. No trails, no streetlights, just darkness. That first week, everything felt normal, until the sound started. At first, it was easy to ignore. A soft crunch late at night, like someone stepping on gravel. I told myself it was an animal, a raccoon, a stray cat, maybe the wind knocking loose branches against the fence. But it kept happening, always around the same time, between 2:30 and 3 a.m. I'd be lying in bed, scrolling on my phone, when I'd hear it. Crunch, fuzz, crunch, slow footsteps. Never running, never hurried, just deliberate. I stopped sleeping with the window cracked open after that. By the second week, I noticed something else. My backyard gate, the one that led to the side yard, wasn't always closed the way I left it. Not wide open, just off, an inch or two. At first, I blamed myself. Maybe I hadn't latched it properly. Maybe the wood was warped from the cold. Still, I started double-checking it every night before bed. Latch secure, gate flush. And every morning it would be off again. Not every day, just often enough to make me uneasy. One night, I decided to stay awake. I turned off my bedroom lights and sat on the edge of my bed, staring out the window toward the backyard. The fence blocked most of the view, but the moonlight faintly illuminated the top panels. I waited. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Just when I thought I'd imagined everything. Crunch. Right outside the fence. My stomach tightened. Then, something else. A shadow. Not moving fast. Not pacing. Just standing there. On the other side of my fence. I couldn't see a face. Couldn't see hands. Only the outline of a human head and shoulders, barely visible above the fence line. Not walking past. Not leaving. Just standing. Watching. I froze. Every instinct told me to move, to grab my phone, to turn on the lights. But I didn't. I watched that shadow for nearly 3 full minutes. It never moved. And then slowly lowered. Like someone crouching down. Disappearing completely. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning, I found footprints. Clear impressions in the soft dirt along the fence. Bell-sized. Heavy. They weren't random. They were positioned directly behind my bedroom window. That's when fear turned into certainty. Someone wasn't passing through. Someone was coming back. I installed a motion light that same day. Bright. Industrial. Impossible to miss. That night, I lay in bed again, heart pounding. 2:41 a.m. The light snapped on, flooding the yard in white. I jumped up and rushed to the window. Nothing. No one. But the light stayed on for a full minute before turning off. The next morning, I noticed something chilling. The bulb had been unscrewed halfway. Someone had loosened it. Carefully. Quietly. I called the police. They took notes. Walked the property. Nodded. No signs of forced entry. No clear suspect. Probably someone cutting through the land, one officer said. But they still filed a report. That night I locked every door, every window, and slept with my bedroom light on. At 2:36 a.m., I heard breathing. Not outside. Inside. Right outside my bedroom door. Slow. Controlled. Like someone listening. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911 with shaking hands. Before I could speak, The breathing stopped. Footsteps retreated. Then silence. Police arrived 10 minutes later. They found the back gate wide open. And something else. A shoe print. On my back porch. Facing the door. 2 days later, they arrested a man sleeping in the wooded strip behind my house. He had a backpack. Inside were gloves, flashlight, a knife, and photos of my house. Photos taken at night. From behind the fence. I moved out a month later. The house still stands. The fence is still there. But sometimes I wonder, if I hadn't stayed awake that night, if I hadn't noticed the shadow, how long had he already been watching? Story 2. The motion alert said someone was at my window. I never believed those motion alerts were reliable. Too many false alarms. Cats. Passing cars. So when my phone buzzed at 1:12 a.m. with a notification that read, "Motion detected, front window," I almost ignored it. Almost. I was alone that night. My wife was visiting her sister out of state, and the house felt unusually quiet. No TV. No music. Just the low hum of the refrigerator and the occasional creak of settling wood. The alert stayed on my screen. No follow-up notification. No second trigger. Just that single message. I stood up slowly and checked the live camera feed. Nothing. The front yard was empty. Porch light on. Driveway clear. I told myself it was a glitch. I went back to bed. 5 minutes later, my phone vibrated again. Motion detected, front window. Same camera. Same location. This time, my chest tightened. I opened the live feed again. Still nothing. But something felt wrong. The angle of the camera hadn't changed. The lighting was the same. But the reflection in the glass. It looked darker. Like something had been blocking the light moments earlier. I muted the alert and tried to sleep. That was my first mistake. At 1:29 a.m., I heard a soft tap. Not a knock. A tap. Against glass. Then again. Coming from the front of the house. From the window. I stayed completely still. Holding my breath. Listening. The taps stopped. Seconds passed. Then a slow scraping sound. Like fingertips dragging lightly across glass. I grabbed my phone and checked the camera again. This time I saw it. A face. Not clear. Not fully lit. Just the outline of a head pressed close to the window. So close that the camera couldn't focus. I couldn't see eyes. But I knew. They were looking in. I backed away from the window and locked my bedroom door. My phone buzzed again. Motion detected, side yard. Motion detected, back door. Whatever was outside wasn't just standing there. It was moving. Testing. I called the police. Quietly. Whispering into the phone like the person outside could hear me. They told me to stay locked inside and keep my line open. While I waited, I heard footsteps. Slow. Measured. Crossing from the front of the house to the side. Then stopping. Right beneath my bedroom window. The blinds shifted. Just slightly. Like someone had brushed against them from the outside. I didn't look. I couldn't. The police arrived 8 minutes later. Red and blue lights washed over the walls. The footsteps stopped. By the time officers searched the yard, the person was gone. But they found something. Handprints. On the front window. Perfectly outlined in condensation. Both hands pressed flat. As if someone had been leaning forward. Watching. I didn't sleep that night. Or the next. 3 days later, the alerts returned. Same window. Same time. But this time I was ready. I watched the feed live. The camera caught movement. A figure stepping just out of frame. Then back in. Slow. Deliberate. Like they knew where the camera couldn't see. Then something worse. The figure raised a phone. And the screen lit up. They were recording my house. Police caught him a week later. He'd been doing it to multiple homes. Watching routines. Testing reactions. They said I was lucky. But luck had nothing to do with it. If I'd ignored that first alert, if I hadn't looked, I don't think he would have stayed outside. Story 3. The doorbell camera saw him before I did. I installed the doorbell camera after a package went missing. Nothing dramatic. Just a brown box marked delivered that never showed up. The app promised peace of mind. Motion alerts. Cloud storage. Night vision. I didn't expect it to make things worse. The first alert came on a Tuesday night at 11:47 p.m. Motion detected, front door. I checked the clip. Nothing unusual. Just my front porch. Empty. Still. No person. No car. No movement I could see. I shrugged it off. False alert. The next night, it happened again. Same time. 11:47 p.m. This time, the clip showed something different. A shadow. Not crossing the porch, but stopping. Right at the edge of the camera's view. Like someone standing just out of frame. I rewound the clip. Frame by frame. The shadow didn't move. It wasn't cast by a tree, or a car, or passing headlights. It was shaped like a person, standing still, facing my door. I didn't sleep well that night. On the third night, the alert came early. 11:12 p.m. I opened the app immediately. The live feed loaded, and I saw him. A man standing inches from my front door. So close that the camera warped his face slightly. He wasn't knocking. He wasn't ringing the bell. He was just standing there, head tilted slightly forward, like he was listening. I watched for nearly a full minute. He didn't move, didn't check his phone, didn't pace, didn't fidget. But slowly, he raised his hand and hovered his finger over the doorbell. He didn't press it. He held it there, as if waiting for something inside to react. My phone buzzed. Motion detected, side of house. The live feed cut. By the time it reloaded, the porch was empty. I locked every door, turned off all the lights, and sat on the floor of my bedroom, phone in hand. I didn't call the police. Not yet. Kept thinking, if he wanted to break in, he would have. That thought would later haunt me. At 2:03 a.m., I heard footsteps. Not outside. Inside the house. So, careful. On hardwood. I froze. Listened. The steps stopped outside my bedroom. Then came a sound I'll never forget. The slow turn of a doorknob. Testing. Not forcing. Just checking. I called 911. Whispered. Crying without realizing it. The operator stayed calm. Told me to stay quiet. Told me help was on the way. The footsteps moved away. Down the hall. Toward the front door. Then silence. Police arrived 6 minutes later. They searched the house. Found no signs of forced entry. Until one officer noticed something. The front door. Unlocked. I always lock it. Boys. They reviewed the doorbell footage with me. What we saw made my stomach drop. At 11:09 p.m., before the first alert, the man had walked up to my door. Tried the handle. It opened. He stepped inside. The camera didn't record the interior, but it recorded something else. At 11:47 p.m., the first alert, the man was standing outside again, facing the door, as if deciding whether to come back in. They never caught him. But weeks later, another house nearby reported the same thing. Doorbell alerts. A man who never knocked, never rang, just stood there, listening. I don't use smart cameras anymore. But every night, before I sleep, I check my front door. Twice.